or the hardware-based ones. The ones that come in a pizza box, you have real difficult times putting them in the cloud somewhere.
Putting them in the cloud, yeah. So you have to go back and look what are the software alternatives that are available. So how good is that stuff? How much time should I spend on that, or is that time better spent on fixing the application? Why am I fixing it in a firewall?
It's whose time and whose money. I don't know if you're going to have your developer tuning your web application firewall. That would probably be a poor use of their time. But an IT security person might. They'd probably be better suited for that. So if you're looking at it this way, these are just choices. They're options. It's no one right way. You find a vuln in your website. You work with the development group and go, how long is this going to take us to fix? 6 weeks, 9 months, never. Can we virtual patch in the next day or two? Would that be enough? Yeah, it might be for some organizations.
Okay.
Let's give that a shot. If we're going to fix it in a week and we can roll that virtual patch back up, great, that might be good for them. Sometimes it's a web application firewall just for a temporary virtual patch. Sometimes it's a long-term solution that just really depends on the organization. No one right way.
Okay, so that sounds like they can really be complementary in the deployment. Web application 5 could be a very quick solution, while it sounds like web application take a long time to solve. You're talking 6 weeks, 9 months.
Depends on the environment, depends on the bug. We've seen fast turnaround times in cross-site scripting and SQL injection bugs in the matter of 8 hours from some of our customers, like really fast. Other ones, weeks, months on the average.
Okay. So some IDS vendors are also offering kind of web application firewall functionality. Is that do you see like a convergence there between what they do and what the web application firewalls do?
It's going to blur and get confusing. The IDS vendors will say they have WAF-like features to block SQL injection and cross-site scripting. True, they probably could in some occasions.
I mean, they look at the same stuff, basically.
How comprehensive is it? That'll be a question. I don't know. When we look at websites, it's very much the attacker's eye view. Is the IDS going to be capable of stopping us? We'll see.
So do you think it's fair to say that more mature cloud providers will add web application functionality to their services, that you can just check it off and get it?
Customers yell loud enough? Absolutely. They'll either do it themselves or go through a partner or something like that. Yeah.
Which is basically what Hoff was talking about earlier, if you guys were here. It's really the customers that have to say, we want this stuff. Without this, we are not going to deploy, and we'll probably have to pay for it in some way or another, right?
Security isn't free, so, bottom line.
Okay. Most of these topics are addressed in here, so I think we can close down and see if there's any questions from the audience.
You guys have questions? Come on, there's got to be at least one question. Yes, sir.
Yeah, hi. What's your general opinion of the effectiveness of web application firewalls?
On which vuln style? Which vuln? It's kind of hard to generalize. So what's the effectiveness of web application firewalls? It will depend on the vulnerability in question. They have different success rates on different vulnerabilities. To kind of give you 2 examples, I guess. Session-based handling, if they'll encrypt the cookie on the fly back and forth, cookie-based twiddling to jump into other people's sessions gets pretty challenging when they're encrypting all the cookies on the fly. In the case of cross-site scripting and SQL injection, they can be really powerful, because they'll do whitelist, sometimes blacklist, sometimes both in combinations. But you throw encoding at it and you can slide right by. It just really depends on the actual implementation. Are they perfect? Not by a long shot. Are they getting better? Yeah, we see it. We're trying, from White Hat's perspective, we don't get religious on the debate to WAF or to not WAF. Our customer said we need an option other than to just fixing the code, and we said, all right. So when we work on ways to bypass WAFs, we share our research back out with the WAF vendors, and hopefully they get better over time. So hopefully that answers your question.
So maybe just to address that with the session ending. So web application firewalls, they change content. They can actually improve your session handling, like an add-on. I've seen them offer additional authentication and things like that, CSIF protections, adding additional fields to the field. So it's not really only blocking things, it's also modifying content. And you're saying that can actually work pretty well?
They add security, and they can add security in both ends of the transaction, on security on the request coming in and also on the response going out. They can. Yeah, you're going to get into it. You're going to get out of it what you put into it, and they're not a set and forget kind of thing. If anybody markets you otherwise, red sirens.
So it sounds it's like a division of labor things. If you have some resources on the IT department, they could help out a little bit with web security there to kind of offload the developers that are working on making productive applications.
Yeah, it's web security is very challenging. I think it's not a technology issue we're dealing with. It's a scale issue. Where do we get the people? How do we train the developers? If we're going to train developers, where are the trainers? Right? So,
I just want to make a generalized comment and close it out. This is what I firmly believe the problem with any type of application security, especially web application security, is it's got to be management driven. So that exact aspect is what focuses on enforcing the developers to develop security, using tools in that environment to test their software before it's released. Management enforces configuration management. Non-violent websites that have not been tested to be put into a production environment. And that's what it's really all about. Management has got to take the lead on it. And that's where the money comes from. So
I guess then the business question is that we always try to figure out a way to justify it is, why should the business care? Why should they spend? And I guess the best answer we got is either compliance, you have to, or that you might get hacked and we scare you. Is there any other way to do it? So.
So when we talk about education, shouldn't like the universities provide the educated developers that know security? Do anybody here from the university or from the educational space, is that being taught, secure programming?
I'm even seeing a little bit of it in my current curriculum, but I think the issue is not your business management is not being taught, and that's where the real issue is. If business management, the actual managers are not taught the importance of application and web security, then they influence the money, and that's, you got to chase the money in security, and that's the real problem. So it's great, yeah, we definitely want to teach developers in school, but if management doesn't enforce the policies and practices, it's all for naught.
This is maybe where we bring up the compliance thing again. If you don't do
Absolutely.
this, then you're not compliant, and if we get hacked, you go to jail.
Well, absolutely, and that's one thing that I've seen it where it's turned around is, with at least with FISMA, the whole accreditation concept. You hold management responsible. They sign for that application. That needs to be brought out back into business and industry.
But very much agreeing. Having made a run to try and bring SB 800 to where it's not required, it's a beast. There needs to be something that's not quite as lightweight as the SAN train. But golly, is there a way to use the compliance straight? Does management understand that? Compliant or not compliant? And have a ratcheted set of things management can be held out. It's not a one-size-fits-all, clearly.
Well, I wanted to point out that there's also sort of a philosophical problem, and that is that as a developer, you're incented to get your product out, rush the market. The company wants to make money, they want to get their widget out on the web, whatever. So you might take shortcuts, may or may not. It's really up to developer discretion. So you get incented to perform and to get it out there and to get it out there fast. So then you get a bonus because you're the star performer. You're not incented to get it out there as a star performer without incident. So then, if and when the application gets hacked or broken, then you spend X number of times fixing it, and then you're incented again for fixing the code that you already pushed out in a wonky way. So I mean, from my perspective, it's like really corporations really have to go through a shift and say, you're going to get a bonus, or you're going to be incented to push code out that's exceptional and without incident. Like how many, think of like OSHA. How long have we gone through, days without incident on site? Something like that. But it's just, the system's completely broken.
You got to look at it a little bit different. CEO is going to say, what's my cost if I get hacked? Heartland, TJ Maxx, Fidelity, and recently AT&T. There was no perceived cost in reduction in sales. There was no cost in terms of getting the reset submitted, except for PCI cost. That's the only cost structure that the CEO looked at. So he's not going to tell your developers, he's going to say, cost me $100 million, but I made a couple billion.
And in the case of TJX, it was interesting, and look back at their financial statement year. They had record earnings, record stock growth, record store-to-store sales, record new stores open that year. It's like, okay, the message is, hack the hell out of me, and my costs go up.
Maybe not that, but I agree, at the end of the day, it's a business decision.
Yeah.
That whether they made an informed business decision to proceed, or just worked out that night, I don't know. But is it, stepping outside the role of a security guy, is it the wrong decision? From a cost perspective, clearly not. You're very reasonable.
Yeah.
So,
But
the dog will learn the
That's
easiest
the deal.
behaviors with what the correction.
You know, to go back to this previous presenter, the WebSense guy, you know, in the whole kind of real-time sort of, misinformation is becoming information, it's like no major corporation, Fortune 500, wants their name on the top of one of these things that's brand name. It simply says, credit card company X is crap because they were hacked.
It's just tough to quantify in that way. We need X dollars for a security program, so we don't make the New York Times and suffer brand damage. It's a really difficult thing to quantify.
Yeah, it's a soft number.
Yeah.
You get that from the executive, and then they turn around and tell the developers, oh, by the way, this new application's going to be out tomorrow.
I'm with you.
That he's getting, oh, I don't want my name in the paper, but that application's got to be out tomorrow. Developers sitting there going, okay, what requirements are not going to go? Where does security fall in requirements? You know, it doesn't even come close to cutoff line. I mean, it's so far down in the cutoff that, functionality rules this business.
There's a gentleman back there.
Where I agree with everything that's being said, one of the things we suffer from, and was mentioned before, is academia. When we get developers out of whatever university they came from, there's really none of them that teach security. I mean, I've gone to universities as a part of industrial committees to recommend what they should teach, talk to them about secure computing, ask the students if they know what a SQL injection error is, what a buffer overflow, and they give you blank looks. So from their basis, they are not taught secure computing. And then it's left to the industry to teach them when they hire them. And most companies just don't have the budget to do it. So until we can start pushing it down to academia and start creating a basis so when the developer comes into the industry and says, how do you develop correctly, then that problem really is going to be solved.
Right. So what's it going to take? Do we need a bigger breach or something like that? I mean,
Oh yeah, breaches help a lot.
breach help. I'm thinking about BP right now. They had a very big breach, so to speak, right? Are they doing anything? Are they drilling? Is drilling going to become more secure? It sounds like they are laying off the CEO, and then the blame is gone, and they are moving to other countries and ventures where drilling will still be allowed that way. So.
Well, I think it's racing towards, with a lot of the technology, it's getting closer and closer to our everyday lives. And until these application breaches, sorry to say, cause loss of life, it's going to be really difficult to justify. But it will get there eventually.
Well, that was what I was getting at this point, and it's proven effective time and time again that, federal regulation on this, while I don't advocate large federal regulation, at least making it a criminal and civil offense for these CEOs to approve applications that lose customer data. I mean,
I think there's a law in Oregon, $170 per record, $170 fine and per record. So it's something that's coming.
Again, it goes back on the business bottom line. It's some other minor tax to the CEO. He doesn't care. They still made their profit. They still made their margins. He still gets his bonus and helps off. But if they actually have a criminal, where he might go to jail, he might do time for this, then that's the only way to make it.
Okay, we're running out of time. Last comment over there.